Let's get to Bibling. Just about now. Oh, hola. Long time no see. Or maybe for you, you're like, what? No, it's no difference. We don't care. I just haven't been doing this for a while. Took a hot minute break. I don't know how I want this blanket. Anyways, hi. Welcome to the best Bible study with Tiny Wine, aka Karin Alleyne. Here is where we explore this beautiful little book. Come as you are, with or without faith, however you connect to or don't to divinity, universe, God, you name it, right, Pinky? Just come. I open to a random passage and we just read, have a lot of laughs. I can pull messages because I do that with any book I read, whether it's like I'm a fantasy gal, hence why this book is so good. But I pull messages like any book I read, whether I've read Game of Thrones, I've read, like the Harry Potters, any book, I will still be like, oh yeah, that I can see how, I pull something from my life or you get it. So if you're that, come. If not, come. We just gather here. We're just really respectful. And we show up as you are. I think you're very, I like to have my plants like very close. I don't know why. Anywho, yes, feeling a little tired, probably because it's almost 2 a.m. And I'm a night bat ish, but I'm feeling a bit tired today. But I really wanted to chat about a passage I read. So I haven't done this for a couple of days, but I have been reading every single day because it's just fun as fuck, to be honest. So, okay. 2 Chronicles 31, titled Idols Are Destroyed. Yes. Okay. 2 Chronicles 31. So honestly, I didn't really check to see what was happening before because the first sentence was, now when all this was finished, all Israel who were present went out to the cities of Judah, broke down the pillars in pieces, cut down the Asherim, and pulled down the high places and the altars throughout all Judah and Benjamin, as well as Ephraim and Manasseh, until they had destroyed them all. Clearly written at a time where we use a lot more commas and periods. It's a very different time writing. But anyways, I was like, people arrived and started tearing down this part of the city. What happened? And I was like looking back, and I was like, I'm on chapter 31. I don't, I don't really need this context. I'm okay. So yeah, it starts off with them like they're at the city, they're tearing down the pillars, cutting down the Asherim, which on the other side, that's the message, the interpretation. It says they demolished the neighborhood sex and religion shrines and local god shops. Okay, and they didn't stop until they were finished with them all. So basically, it's like you arrive someplace, we're like interior decorators, and like, no, all of this has got to go. That's kind of what's happening here. Like from the floor, we don't like this, we don't like the rug. So that's what they're doing until it's all gone. And then they all went back home and continued with their lives. It was like, then all the sons of Israel returned to their cities, each to his possession. Like, well, if this doesn't describe HGTV right now, like people come in, tear apart your home, and they're like, okay, honey, see you. Good luck with that. I mean, that's not what happens on HGTV. Well, let me not go there. Anyways. Okay, and then there's the introduction, I was like, of a new character, Hezekiah. That's what I'm going to say. Appointed divisions of priests and Levites by their division. I don't know what's happening. So, so it's like this is what's funny about the Bible. Like it talks like this is what happened, and then it like cutscene, cutscene. Hezekiah is like over there like, and you are a priest, and you are a priest, and you are a priest. Like what is going on? Okay, and then reforms continued. Okay, and this is the part where it got, excuse me, really interesting for me because it was like, okay, he also appointed the king's portion of his goods for the burnt offerings, namely for the morning and the evening burnt offerings, and the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, for the new moons, and for the fixed fest. Okay, there we go. Burnt offerings for the Sabbaths and for the new moons and for the fixed festivals, as it is written in the law of the Lord. So I feel like he was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set out a plan of how you need to show up to these, how you need to offer whatever you need to offer to these things we're celebrating or doing. But what's interesting is like for the new moons, which tonight is the new moon. Oh my gosh. Cool. So yeah, for the new moon, and rarely is like, well, so I've heard. I haven't gone through this thing, but that rarely like is these type of festivals mentioned or celebrated, especially when it comes to the church, which is my background, the Catholic Church. You'd be like, tarot readings like the devil. And so I was like, a new moon celebration. Well, isn't that the pot coddling the kettle? I was like, okay, and festivals. I'm like, oh, is this like when they say this is the theme for Coachella or, Soca Brainwash if you're from the Caribbean and you're like, this is the theme for this week. Is this what's his name? Hezekiah is doing? He's like, this is the theme. This is what you bring. And then he commanded people who lived in Israel, Jerusalem, to give portion. And then it spread. Then it says, as soon as it spread, people provided their first fruits, grain, new wine, oil, honey, all the produce of the field. There were oxen, sheep, sacred gifts, and placed them in heaps. So I was like, okay, this man's smart. He's like, come with your things. Spread the word. It's like he knows economies of scale. Like, I'm gonna ask for one, but from everyone. So I'm like, oh, okay, you end up with heaps. And it's like in the third month, they began to make heaps and finish them by the 7th month. So the amount of things they received between their 3rd month and 7th month, so 5 months, 4 months. Well, I don't know how it is. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 5 months would be how much they had received to make heaps of piles and sort everything. This is how I'm reading this, okay? So when he saw the heaps, which I was like, where have you been? as gold sheep and oxen are arriving in your city, and you're like on the 7th month, you're like, oh, like he faked it. He was like, oh, for me, you shouldn't have. But yeah, he's like, when he sees it, Hezekiah, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Hezekiah, and the rulers came and saw the heaps, they blessed the Lord and his people, Israel. Okay, and then he questioned the priests concerning the heaps. And they said, since the contributions began to be brought into the house of the Lord, we have had enough to eat with plenty left over. For the Lord has blessed his people, and this great quantity is left over. So that whole part was so interesting where he appointed the king's portion of his goods for the offerings. Okay. Oh, okay, that's what he appointed his personal offerings. And then he commanded the people to give portion, and then it spread, and then all of this came in, and then he shows up like 7 months later or 5 months later, and he's like, okay, oh my God, what? I was not expecting this. Tell me more. So it like that little sentence where he questioned it, I was like, oh, so you weren't greedy, I think. Right? And then they said, like, no, this is what people brought, and we've had so much. We've never run out. And then he said, okay, he takes that. He's like, no problem. I've been away for 5 months, but that seems to cover the bases. And he commands them to prepare rooms in the house of the Lord. And they prepared them. I always love when the Bible does this. They're like, and then he said to like wash your face, and he washed it. You're like, okay, thank you. So then he was like, well, we like obviously he's like, well, this like piles and heaps all over the place is not gonna work. So let's make some places to put this. And they brought in the contributions, okay. And then they list like who was in charge of this. Listen to me. The list is long. And I was like, okay, lots of people. Kor, the son of Imnah, under his authority were Eden. Oh my gosh, like Joshua, it keeps going, it keeps going. And then, wait, so faithfully their portions, their brothers, yeah. Okay, so then they, sorry, I'm like literally just looking at the names because it's like this much of just the names of who's involved. Very thorough. Okay. Core. Actually, I really some of the names in here. I'm like, forget celebrity baby names, baby. Like this is where it's at. Kore. It's like that's a really cool name or middle name. Okay, he's in charge of the Eastern Gate and was over the free will offerings of God to apparition, the contributions for the Lord, and the most holy things. So Bible. And this is who was under his authority, these people, and they distributed their portions to their brothers by division. So I think like now things are starting to get divvied up a little bit. And yeah, oh my gosh. And it keep like the genealogical was it genealogical enrollment. So this whole part is I'm like it's not important. But but basically it's like things are starting to get distributed. Okay. And I don't like if they're getting distributed or they're coming to. I don't understand this part, to be honest. Yeah, the ardent dedication they showed in bringing themselves and their gifts to worship was total. No one was left out. I can't tell if they're bringing or they're dividing this. Most likely bringing, to be honest. And it's just being spread out by these very specific people and their genealogical enrollment. So it's like all their children, their wives, their sons, and their daughters. For the sons of Aaron, the priests, they're this. Oh yeah, there were men who were designated by name to distribute portions to every male among the priests and to everyone genealogically enrolled among the Levites. So it's like you couldn't just show up, honey, and like, I'll take an apple and a gold shekel. No, you have to be like, who are you related to? Core? Which, interesting. Interesting there. And then, thus Hezekiah did throughout all of Judah. And he did what was good, right, and true before the Lord his God. Every work which he begun to in the service of the house of God in law and in commandments, seeking his God, he did with all his heart and prospered. Sorry for that part where I like struggled, but I found this passage really interesting because this man got really rich, like very, had so much abundance. Like there was mounds of everything that they had to sort it for so long. And then he, yeah, he put people in charge in order to help distribute it. And there's actually a portion here where he's like, whether great or small, without regard to their genealogical enrollment. So it's like they were even handed in their distributions to their coworkers. So I think he also um, handed it out to, maybe he did hand it out to random people. Anyone who knows this passage, help clarify. But what I realized was like he started it. Okay, forget what it was, for the temple and all that. Like I leave that alone. But he started with like, okay, I'm gonna give this. Lead by example. Then I'm gonna ask the people around me, can you also contribute what you have? And that's how the ripple effect them. People were like, oh, bring a banana, no problem, I can do. And like then it started coming in leaps and bounds. And then he had so much so. And I think he didn't even know how big it was gonna get because he left to carry on, probably ruling, and comes back and is like, I'm sorry, there's what now? How much? And he's questioning, like, how did this happen? Like, well, you said, imagine if they're like, well, you started it. How do you mean? And then he's like, okay, well, let's store this and start distributing to people. And everything he did, that's what I kind of liked with the last sentence. He did with all his heart and prospered. So everything he did from he was like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And I kind of liken this to even my current exploration of building channels or like sharing things that I'm guided to share. And like, oh, one day we're gonna find this. Like, we know who you are. Like being anonymous, like relax. But yeah, sharing dance, sharing the joy of reading. And then it just starts with one person, even anybody else who've built this. It started with them, be like, hey, I'm going to start this. I'm going to share this or do anything. And then someone else is like, here, I got this, or I'm also going to try this. And it grew. That's how we even have industries right now. Oh, yeah. I feel really bad. I'm like, oh, it got really messy there as it started to list all the people involved and what they were doing. I was like, I do pre-read this, but clearly I was like, like my eyes will glaze over. Once I get to parts, I'm like, no, I don't. Except for Core. Kore. That name was like, I was like, I like. Anyways, yeah, that is the 2 Chronicles chapter 31 with Hezekiah, who was just a man who came about and started something. I don't know what was going on in the first half where they're like, let's tear this place down. And then bye, head out. And then maybe he felt guilty. Or he's like, I ain't got nothing to do with that. His name wasn't mentioned. Oh, it was. He was involved. Maybe he felt guilty. He's like, we just dismantled everything. Let's try and build this back up here. Yay. Okay. I usually say like, I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know that. Until I'm called again to share another passage. We will meet back here. Thanks for joining me, guys. And I hope to see you soon as we read the Bible. Have an awesome day. Ta-da! This book's so heavy. Like, it feels not just heavy because of the pages, but like heavy, you know what I mean?